All right, so some introductions. I am Andreas. I'm a senior customer engineer here at Builder.io, and we've got with us Veronica Pilipenko, another incredible customer engineer. And we do a lot of AI enablement and integrations, working with our customers to help them adopt this new technology that is generative AI, specifically for generating code, for coding, right? And because it's new, it's like kind of, I mean, honestly, it's so different than traditional coding in a way. We'll get to that in a second, but like it's a whole new workflow, and we haven't exactly seen how that works necessarily in production yet. So we're sort of writing the rule book, and we wanted to share what we see to be successful in these scenarios, to help not like make something that's, for a hobbyist, because it's really easy to use some of these tools, like spin up like a web app or like a game or something that you used to have to be able to code to do it, or have to spend time coding it if you know how to code. And we want to show you not one of those party tricks, but more so like how to use this holistically within like a modern stack and like within an actual enterprise. So with that, I'll hand it over to Veronica for,
Um,
and this is actually a real picture of Veronica attending Hogwarts. It was not made with AI. This is real.
nope, it's real. Um, yeah, so kind of like piggybacking off what you said, AI can feel like magic, but it can't read your mind. And like talking a little bit of like traditional coding and the way that we would think about building things, is very different from like the way we implement and work with AI, right? When we used to code, we do a lot of like logic and there's hard and fast rules and there's like expectations and you give it an input and you expect the same output each time and you're debugging and kind of like you're certain about what you're coding, whereas like with AI it's a little bit of like a black box or like a mystical quality. You're putting something into an input and it's popping something out and it just feels like it's created something out of nothing. So if you don't give it enough context, it's just going to kind of pop out what it feels should be fit. And yeah.
Yeah. So the key is to give it the context that you want it to have. Because like Veronica said, um, it feels like magic, but it isn't really magic. It's just it could be a little unpredictable, let's say. It could be a little like unexpected results. And we never want that in like a business setting. I mean, I don't know, maybe you do, but most businesses don't really want to not to the unexpected. They want to like kind of be able to know what's going to happen when they do something. So the key to that, to make it a little less unpredictable, is providing the AI with the correct context. And then it can generate much better code automatically, right? So think of it as like when you onboard a new developer. I said junior dev, maybe at this point it could be like a mid-level developer. But
I
it's
like to think of it as like a mid-level developer because it just knows so much more than the junior dev.
Yeah, it's kind of like if they had a Neuralink that had like all of Stack Overflow in it. Um, but yeah, I think the key here is if you're onboarding a new member of your team, you would hopefully not just set them loose and be like, hey, go ahead and code a feature, like, and not give them details on what feature they we want them to code, not give them details on documentation or best practices, the code conventions you want it to use. Because like there's a lot of ways to do something in code, but there's a lot of ways to write bad code that's unsustainable that then someone else is going to have to maintain. Probably the next junior dev is going to have to figure it out. And I know this firsthand because when I started my career in tech, I was put in front of, I mean, a 10,000 line like C sharp file that wrote a giant SQL query using like just a string concatenation. And that was really a lot for me. I was like, I don't know if I can figure this out. And then, you sink or swim, and I figured it out and became a better developer because of it. But I don't know that that's the approach we want to take when we're trying to efficiently get something done like that. That's a unique situation. I know Veronica had a similar thing happen though.
Yeah, like when I started my career as a software engineer, I pretty much was just like thrown into the deep end. We had no documentation, and I worked for like an early stage startup, and the documentation was read the code base and like go through all the legacy code and like figure it out. So that's kind of not the approach we want to take with AI. We want to give a little bit more context
Yeah.
when we're building with it, but
Like
definitely a good way to become a better dev.
Yeah, maybe it's a good way to like train the AI like at the base level, like machine learning. I'm not really a machine learning like expert or anything, but it's not how you want to use the finished AI because it's not gonna like learn the same way we learn. It's gonna learn by being told good practices. And in fact, maybe it kind of is the same way we learn. You want to be told but have like someone that's like trusted tell you like this is how you use this code base. This is how we do things at company X. This is how, this is how this component works. And we have tools to kind of inform the AI of how your components work. We have this really cool thing called component indexing, where it looks at your design system and that might be like minified in your code base and imported in a library. And we can basically have you run a command in the actual design system repo that will not only document all the components you have in there, but understand how to use them and provide examples. And then our Fusion AI vibe coding tool can take that context and pull it into its prompt when it's needed. Like it's not going to become a massively bloated prompt. It's only going to take it when it's needed, but it's going to have it available. That's the key thing. Like having context available to use when needed is really important. That's kind of what we want to get to. We started out by saying like kind of how not to prompt, but it's really more of a philosophy. So we'll get into that. And I mean, this is kind of a fun slide, but the kind of reason that you don't want to just give it like, let's say it's like a really complicated, um, let's say it's like a really simple one, right? A really simple prompt, like build this app, which we're about to do, because it's like the most generic. And what it's going to do is basically make up a bunch of stuff. And then you're going to look at it at the end and be like, this is really cool, but like it made up a bunch of stuff that I don't need and don't want. And now I have to do it again. And Veronica, what do we say in that situation?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, thank you. I
It's
think,
just going to fill in the blanks of the context that you don't give it. And that's sometimes not the best way to iterate and work with AI.
yeah, or if anyone, like if you want a feature done a certain way, you have to tell it because a lot of people, a lot of like the most common thing I say when I work with customers is like, they'll tell me the AI didn't do what I wanted it to do. I'll say, what did you ask it to do? They show me like a prompt that's not very descriptive. And then I'm like, okay, what did you want it to do? They're like, oh, we want it to use this library or this style. We don't want it to use inline styles. We want to use this style, this class or something, right? I'll be like, well, you should tell it that. And that's pretty much like the core philosophy. But we'll get into some more complex stuff in this demo.
Sweet. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll do an example of a not so good prompt.
Oh, it looks like people are
So,
dropping like references to their LinkedIn posts about good prompt engineering. That's good. Good resources. Keep sharing resources in the chat.
also, I just have this kind of like prototype design here, and all I'm going to do is screenshot it and just drop it into our Fusion AI and just say, build this. And I'm keeping this like very, very general. And of course, it's going to, it's still going to spin up something pretty cool, but it's not very prescriptive in terms of like what design system I want it to use, what kind of components I want it to use, things like that. Um, and let's give it just a minute. And it's still going to probably build like a pretty nice looking dashboard and it's going to be somewhat functional. But once it builds it, we'll go into the code that it pushes out and kind of see what we're working with. A lot of times, like you'll get like div soup or spaghetti code or just like not such good code. So it's really important to be prescriptive whenever we are working with AI agents. So let's give it
Yeah, like
a
this
minute.
example of like not the greatest prompt, but we wanted to show you anyways. Because we'll start with like kind of a nondescript one. We'll get into more complex and more information, more context. But I mean, it
I
is
think
cool that it can do it from a scribble. Like that's fun, right? But it's not necessarily going to be something you'd put into production. So,
Yeah, and I think of like the way I like to think about like interacting with AI, it's just like working with like a colleague, like letting them know what to build and how to build it and like what you want out of the result. So it'll definitely,
and I see
well, we'll
someone in,
see.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I see someone in the chat saying need to index your repo in a Claude MD file. It's like talking about some of the helper files you could have in different AI tools, we definitely have things like that. We have a rules file that acts like an agent MD, and Fusion can use an agent MD file as well. And we're going to show you the component indexing feature in a little bit. It's pretty cool. But what we're getting now, if we look at, can we like scroll up and look at some of like the thinking and some of the code it's generating?
Yep. Cool. So I just dropped that in. The user wants me to build an app from scratch based on a hand-drawn sketch wireframe. And then this is kind of all of the stuff that it's going to be pushing out. So header, nav, main heading, things like that. So it did a pretty decent job, I would say, right? Like it does kind of look like that screenshot that I popped in, right? We have like the add button, the orders, the monthlies. I don't know that it's like functional. But Fusion does this really cool thing where it like actually takes a screenshot and it like feeds it back to the AI agent so it could almost like check its own work. And it does look like it made this responsive. So that's pretty cool. So let me go ahead and just like make it a little smaller. So took into account just like responsiveness, mobile, tablet. But let's go ahead and hop into this code over here and just see the kind of components that it's created. And again, like I didn't really give it a very prescriptive like prompt of like, hey, I want it to use this like, like movie library or something like that. And it just looks like it used the Lucid React and then the Radix UI. So like this kind of goes back to the black box, right? Like the AI is just going to like fill in the blanks for you if you don't give it something prescriptive. And it looks like it did create like a good amount of things of components and things like that. So it definitely still gave me a pretty good result with the wireframe that I provided, I would say. But we can do better.
Yeah, and when you see these components, it's kind of just like all over the place. It uses components from its own component library, uses some stuff from Radix UI. Like, will it give you a web page? Like, yes, if that's all you need, like, cool. But we want to use our own design system. I'm seeing in the chat, someone was asking, like, is this AI Builder IO? Just to be clear, yes, this is our AI code generation tool, commonly called Fusion, that we have at Builder IO, and it's pretty cool because you can connect to your actual code base. You can import projects from GitHub or any Git platform and then start prompting them. We're showing some greenfield ones from scratch, but we can definitely connect to your own projects as well and then use the AI to make edits to them. But to add a little bit to what Veronica was saying, like yes, it said build this dashboard, and there's like a picture, like a napkin sketch of the dashboard, but in reality, with almost any AI tool you're using, there's a system prompt underneath. So the reason it turned out as decent as it did is because we have a system prompt basically saying like you're an expert in front end, et cetera, et cetera. You've probably seen some prompts like this, but saying that, this is specified for front end web development. There's some basic rules that we want to follow. They're like just good practices across the board. And we've trained it on a lot of like React and common frameworks. So it knows what to do. But when,
Some really good pre-baked things under the hood there.
yeah, but like, and like pretty much any AI you use is going to have that because from trying to use ChatGPT, there's certain things it won't do. It has like its own system prompt as well. Like, unless you're using, what is it, Olama running things locally. I don't want to get too nerdy, but yeah. But what we can do now is try a second prompt with a little more context.
Yep. Do you
So
want to share your screen and walk through it?
is this mine? Oh, I can do it. Yeah. Cool. Let me just get my screen share ready.
Yeah, and like with a very general prompt like that, I feel like there's gonna be like a lot of noise in terms of like the coding. There's just like it's clunky and there's just a lot of it, and some of it is not relevant to what we're looking for.
Yeah. It's like if we had something in mind, like that was just like a sketch. I'm sure whoever drew that sketch had something in mind. Like this should be using orders. This should be managing e-commerce. Like what do we have here? Like this is looking at financial. Like maybe this is a balance. Looks like this is like a banking app, basically, right? So build build this banking dashboard. I'm gonna say build this dashboard. Build this dashboard create a dummy API, which we will replace later to handle the numbers and statistics shown in the design. Okay, this is like the key part, like use material UI. Now, when I'm saying use material UI, you can like kind of substitute that with any design system you want, like your own design system. It's not limited to like commonly used ones. In fact, what I've done here is I ran a command in the root folder of material UI's source, and it documented it, it indexed it. Now I have this available in context if I want it. I can just attach this to the project and it understands how to use material UI, like more than just, it's when it's imported. So the AI already has context to your code base because that's what it's looking at to generate the code. So it can look at examples in your code base. However, some of these libraries are minified. So it's probably not even really necessary with Material UI, but with a more complex, like someone mentioned, like a mono repo, with like a more complex set of components, you could maybe be having several of these component indexes you make of different design systems. And then you can specify in settings and you can specify which ones should be used, and you can specify rules and instructions when you should use components from each one. I lost my prompt, but I'll start it again. Um, so I was saying, build this dashboard. This dashboard, you make a dummy API for the statistics and numbers in the design to be replaced later. And
Make
then
it responsive.
use Material UI. That's a good one. Uh, make it responsive for web and mobile. It tends to do that, but we want to specify. And look good in tablet mode. I'm changing the prop from what we did in practice. It could be crazy. It looked good on tablet too. We also have,
Give it a light mode and a
good.
dark mode.
Thank you. Like add a toggle to switch between light mode and dark mode. And you know, this, I mean, this isn't that like descriptive, but it's a little better than the last one. This drawing is a lot better. It's not a drawing, it's a design that looks like kind of professional, right? So this is going to be hopefully a better result. And more importantly, the code is going to do what we ask it to do, or like that's the idea anyway. So let's try it. If we get bored of generating it, I already have it generated, but it's fun to sort of look at the what's going on.
Thought process.
These are all using reasoning models. With our enterprise tier, you're allowed to select various models. These are some common ones. I am using Sonnet. I actually wanted to be using Haiku because it's very fast and good for demos as a result. But Sonnet is really great. It's like a kind of has been a standard. But then Gemini 3 Pro is pretty good too. It's like some of the newer ones here. 5.2 I use in my chatting a lot. But for code, like Sonnet is pretty amazing. So that's what we try to do auto. So yeah, it is doing all sorts of stuff. It's starting up a little server. So basically it's just like building this web app. It's like serving it in the cloud. And then if we wanted to like take one of these, take one of these and spoiler alert, and like push it to a repo, like let me just, sorry. Here, okay, enough clicking around. This is actually what it's gonna look like. Something like this. I'll could have been more responsive, but that's when you iterate and say, you can go here to interact mode or design mode, and you can say these, these, these. I'm just gonna select this one. I'm gonna say the card selected is being cut off. I'm gonna choose this one too because these are all being cut off. That's not good. So we'll choose a couple of these elements. This is sort of unique to our tool too. The card selected is being cut off in some screen sizes. Ensure this card and others like it are not blocked by the left navigation bar. So that will take this element into context. It knows I'm talking about this element, and I have a prompt that goes with it, and I can send that message and it'll work on it. Another thing you can do is I can go in here, see if I have another one of these. I guess I just have this one running, the other one's generating, so I have to wait. But what you can do actually in design mode, I'll show you in this one. You can go in here and you can make changes just like you're editing like any sort of content in like any sort of CMS or other tool. Like you can change it to Irish Grover font, which I don't know why I would ever do, but you can. I like to pick the weird fonts for demos, but I can pick something a little more normal. Jolly Lodge.
Like another really good way, sorry to cut you up.
Oh,
Another really good way to like iterate with the AI agent is to actually just like provide screenshots. So like what you did with like clicking the element and then telling it exactly what to do is a good way to do it. But you can also just screenshot where it's getting cut off and say like it's getting cut off here, like fix this.
good call out for sure. Yeah, and sometimes the AI will do that itself. If you'll notice, like it'll take a screenshot and it'll be like, "Hey, we can't see anything. The server must not be running. I need to restart the server." It's like pretty interesting how it does that, but it's very useful. So we have a we have a raised hand. If you want to put it in the QA, if it's something like directly related to what we're doing right now, you can throw it in the chat and maybe we'll answer it. But definitely put it in the QA and we'll get to it. Cool.
Do you want to super quickly just scroll up and show the initial prompt that you gave? Because I think someone was asking about it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that call out. So the initial prompt, and I can put this in the chat too. Yeah, and I know we kind of said like this was about how to prompt and how not to prompt, and it's like it's not always about just the prompt you use. That's really important, but it's also about the other things you give it. Like in most of these tools now, you can add a PDF, you can add images, and that's what we're gonna do next. Actually, is add a whole project plan. But yeah, this is the initial input, and also there was like a design, like there was like this design. So
Screenshot.
yeah, you can screenshot if you want to. I mean, you can use any design, right? So we're generating the app. But that being said, I already know, I already did it. Here it is. We just did an iteration on it too. We fixed it. Like it looks way better now. It's way more responsive. So that's another thing to remember. Like it's okay if you don't get 100% the first time. And it's kind of expected. It's gonna it's not a person. It's I mean, not yet, but it can make mistakes just like anything else. And when you get there, you don't have to be frustrated or think like, oh, this like doesn't work. Didn't do the thing I asked it to do. It's not like it feels like magic. It's not magic, but it's close to magic, basically. And yeah, you can these let's look at the code actually. That's pretty important. I'm rambling
See
a
if
little
it
bit.
used MUI.
Yeah, let's go to the dashboard we just created. Why don't I just ask it like, where can I find the dashboard you just created in the code? Like, we're all developers here, or most of us, but this tool can also be used by designers and product managers, and they might not know where to find the code or what to be looking for, but they might know we want to make sure we're using Material UI. They might be like that technically fluid to understand that. So we can see here, client components, layouts, dashboard layout. Client components, layouts, dashboard. Cool. And what are we using? Oh, would you look at that? Material UI. Material UI. Over and over again. MUI, MUI. It did what we asked it to do. We were very happy about that. And again, it doesn't have to be Material UI. It's like whatever your design system is, we want it to use that. So this helps you make like this is already like a nice prototype for, and if it was in your own design system, your own branding, like that's even better. Like you see exactly what it will look like in production. If you want to go further, you can make like a whole production app with this tool. You can hook up APIs and everything. One thing we show is like making a weather app. It's like a simple demo we do, but you just can attach an API to open API to it instantly. And it'll just, as long as you have credentials, like for the devs here, you can add credentials, environment variables here. So you can connect to your own internal APIs or external. You can add runtime dependencies. There's like, you could basically control the space, like how it launches, how it installs. So if you brought your own project in, you'd set this stuff up first. And then once it's all running every time you open it up, then you can hand it over to designers or marketing people to make like new branches and try out new features. We actually do that a lot internally. We have a product manager who does so many small changes to the product that she ended up being like one of the suggested reviewers on GitHub. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Should we do plan mode?
Yeah, I think so.
Veronica, you want to tackle it?
Um, do you want me to share my screen
Yeah, that'd be great.
and do a plan mode? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead. Do we have a prompt that we want to use with plan mode, or should we just like come up with one on the spot?
I've got one actually somewhere in my notes.
I mean, we can
Oh, you know what?
technically just like take that same, maybe like just take this prompt, the build a dashboard.
I've got something here. Why don't I share? I forgot I have a file for this. Cool.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. So, new one.
I think plan mode is probably like the coolest part or my favorite part where you're just kind of like working in tandem with the AI to build something out.
Yeah, check this out. So, I was approaching this in the last prompt, but here I've made it entire product requirements document. And someone asked about testing, I think, like end-to-end testing. We specified we want to do unit tests in here. You could bring those in as context. You could start with a project that already has them in there, but and say make sure you use this unit test every time you make a new component in the rules or instructions or prompt. But we're going to generate it from scratch again. We're going to make the dummy API. It tells us we must return promises. It's a little more complicated than the last prompt. It tells us exactly what we want to do. This is more where we want to be. But this is a lot of stuff. We don't want to generate this just blind and have it build something and be like, that wasn't what we wanted to build. Now we have to iterate again. We want to save our time on that and just get it right the first time or get it as close as we can the first time. So what we're going to do, I have a prompt that I already wrote, but I mean, I think it's kind of all in here. So I don't need much of a prompt. I'll say like, generate a plan to implement this design. Let me include the design as well. This design follow instructions in the PRD documents attached. So I don't really need to do that much of a prompt because it's already in there. So this will have some interesting stuff because when it thinks through it, it's going to start generating, not just like start doing stuff and start thinking and just acting. It's going to actually think about making a plan. It's sort of like it's gonna, so if the point is if it does generate something that is not in your original prompt, that it says like, well, you didn't specify this, we need to do this because like that's part of a web app, it's going to ask you this time. So that's like a big advantage.
Kind of just like laying down the foundation before building the house.
Exactly. And I saw like a meme on LinkedIn. It was showing like AI coding and showing like regular building a house regularly with like a good foundation. And they were kind of dissing vibe coding, saying it like builds it on a weird foundation. Like, yeah, if you do bad prompting and don't specify what you want and you don't understand the architecture you're trying to build, like, yeah, there's going to be some of that. But if you take, if you, I mean, I think it's like if you start with a developer and have them know what architecture they want, understand someone that just understands this, now they don't have to code it all out. Like they can just do the initial prompt, get it started, get a good boilerplate going, and you can save that as a starter template and have other people that are less technical build on that, and it'll have the rules that all that we're putting in these prompts. We'll put them in these settings and instructions, and then everyone will be playing by the same rules more or less. So it gives you the ability to kind of have people be a little more vague, but it's going to have guidelines. It's going to be like under control, not just generating whatever it feels like. So same with something, someone was talking about agents MD in the chat. So similar concept to that. So the image fetch failed. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure it'll find a way. I think it just, yeah, I think it doesn't have this image. So I can just give it to it at the end, but it'll generate all like the components we need based on the plan. So yeah, this like isn't taking that long, but it feels like a long time when I'm trying to talk through it. So yeah, let's like take a look at the chat and see what's going on in there. Can I ask you questions back? great question. This is like literally what it's about to do is ask us questions back. Like, do you want to use this design? As you said, you want to use Material UI, but your boilerplate starter template uses Radix. Which one do you want to use? Like, just to make sure. It's like a really good practice because if I'm a developer working on something and I don't have the information, like I'm probably gonna ask a lot of questions. So I'm probably gonna ask for it. So it'll do the same thing. Um, yeah. We have a raised hand. Do you want to just put it in the chat or the QA? We love you guys. We're not going to let you talk in our webinar because we have the gift of yap and we'll be doing the talking, but we will take your questions. Can you handle? I read this first. You handle user intent or ambiguous requests using a design system. For example, let me answer this. I'm trying to understand the question. Can you guys see the question that I just chose to answer live on the screen? Can someone write in the chat if you see the Q&A question? Well, I'll just read it. How do you handle user intent or ambiguous requests when working with a design system? For example, the user says, I want a 50-50 hero banner, but thank you, Veronica. But the
Mhm.
prop that controls your hero component layout is called something like media alignment. The agent may not link the two concepts. I know what we've done internally, but interested in your take. Yeah, that the component, the prop that controls the hero component layout is called something like media alignment. So to make sure I understand, like you want to generate a certain kind of banner, but in your code base, this is done typically a with a wrapper layout or something like that, a wrapper component that it might not be obvious to the AI that that's what it's supposed to be using. Is that Matt? Is that the question? If he doesn't answer, I'm just gonna say stuff because I have some thoughts. But yes, kind of. Okay,
Yes.
we'll take that. Yeah. So the idea is it should be looking at examples in your code base. If that's a pattern that's seen in your code base, in this thinking process, it almost always is going to look at things in the code base. Let me see if I can find one. Um, it says this one is kind of generating a lot of stuff from scratch. So it's not, but it'll look to see how it's implemented. If you have the design system like indexed, it'll definitely have that information because it'll have documented how these things work. If you see that it's not doing it correctly, I mean, that's valid. Like it doesn't, not every AI tool always gets everything perfect for sure. So you can start to put rules and instructions in your agents MD, as it's commonly called, or as we call it, builder rules that say like, hey, when you're making a hero that does XYZ, like make sure you use media alignment. And this is like kind of what we do when we onboard new enterprise customers to the tool is we work with them to kind of like learn their unique setup and kind of guide them towards what kind of rules they should be writing. So it's basically like why like wouldn't the developer would have to be aware of that somehow, either through just like working on the tool a lot or just someone told them or it's in the documentation. So it's the same way you tell a person, we keep coming back to this, but it's true. Same way you tell a person, you'd want to tell the AI. And the way to do that technically is to use custom instructions that are applied to all prompts.
Yeah, that's like a really good like segue into just like how context is so important for the AI because it's not just gonna like know, how to build things or like how you want things built without you explicitly stating
Yeah.
and being like very prescriptive about the things that you wanted to use.
Yeah, like here, I told it to use Material UI in this PDF, but I actually was using a starter template that was using some other stuff. So I don't want to use anything that was like just left over from a boilerplate. I want to use Material UI, as I said. So I'll just verify that because if you were, this is not a super relevant question in this example, but if you brought in another project that used a different design system and then you said, generate a new page using this other design system. That's a little confusing. Like you'd probably want to clarify which one you want to use. You might have made a mistake in the PRD, or you might just be trying to use multiple design systems, which happens. So it's good to ask the question, then you review it. For the charts, should we use MUI X charts, paid pro features, limiting the free tier, or stick with recharts? I'm gonna go with recharts because I don't have a MUI X subscription or anything. So we'll skip that part and just go with what we can use. And now it has a plan. So now what it's going to do is generate kind of like an updated PRD that's like for AIs specifically. So this is something I'll do normally anyways. I think it's really good to use different AI tools. Like you don't have to just use one, even though I know we're from Builder, but like I use Claude and Chat GPT all the time to like format prompts as well. You can just go in there and say, hey, like make this a better prompt, and it'll do it. And then you can like bring it back into here. And that's kind of what it's doing here is like it's making the prompt into a plan that it can understand. It's verifying with you the points of the plan that it didn't understand the first time instead of like guessing, which is really key. We don't want it to guess. And some people say hallucinate. It's kind of a different concept where it just that's where information kind of seems to come out of nowhere that we don't know why it's out of context. It's not really hallucinating, but it's more accurate to say it like gets creative, right? So we want to get creative with our prompts too, so we can tame it essentially. Yeah, if we're gonna get to the point where it's going, I know it's a little slow, but then we'll get to your question shortly. But it's going to pop up a new plan that we're gonna be able to review. It looks like it's almost there. And it actually created examples of what it's going to do so we can review that and then it can use those as a reference. Like theme providers is some stuff from Material UI. And again, like doesn't have to be Material UI. A lot of these vibe coding tools are a little more like locked down where they're like, you can only use these common libraries or Tailwind or whatever is the more common libraries. And we don't do that. We let you bring your entire code base. We let you bring whatever design system you want. Um, yeah, because we want this to be used for real enterprise production development, as well as internal apps and prototypes. It's so good for prototypes. There's no reason not to use it for prototypes. But we're basically offering a little more that we can just create a repo with this, even if new repo. I'm not really going to use this, but even if like you have a repo you brought in, then you can push PRs on different branches, and all of a sudden you're making a real production feature. As long as the developers review it and like it, and if they don't like it, they might be writing some custom instructions for you to use next time.
That was one of the questions if they can use like custom design systems as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And you absolutely can. Yep.
Like, it's not limited. It's limited by your imagination and front end development. It's a front end tool primarily. So, although we do have a CLI that can technically do all sorts of things, but for this visual tool, it's a front end tool. But yeah, so it's coming up with a plan here. It's pretty detailed. It's going to pop it out into another window too when it's like all done. Like out of scope, like this is great. Like it's telling me don't make authentication yet. Don't use, yeah, here we go. So it's telling it what you don't want, which I think is great. Dummy API could be swapped via environment variable. It had everything we had in our original plan, but it's more like readable by the AI now. It's more systematic. And now if I had something to fix about it, I fix it, and otherwise I just implement it. So I think you get the idea. We ended up coming up with something like this. If it'll load, might have spun down the server. I hope it's something like this.
And it's still using all the movie design system.
Say, where's the API live in the code? We can look at that. I think it built endpoints, right? Or like dummy endpoints right into the code. And we just find it too. Let's see. Server index. Server setup, server/index. Where's that? Yep. It has an actual fake API in there. I just like we asked it to. Cool. So I think we've demoed enough at this point. Let's do some of the Q&A.
Can we show the credits that it
Oh,
used after each prompt?
I think so, yeah.
Just to kind of get a better idea of like what that looks like.
So here's some tokens used. So not credits, but like AI tokens, which for those who don't know are like kind of like syllables almost, parts of words, is how they're counted. So um 67,000 used on the plan mode. I don't have a price equivalent for you right now, but which was used. Someone asked about the best way to connect a database, a Superbase. That's such a great name. It makes you think of the Nicki Minaj song.
The base.
Um, where are we? Integrations. Do we have? Yeah, there you go. We have the MCP servers. For those who aren't familiar, MCP servers are basically like it's kind of like APIs for LLMs in a way. Like it allows you to connect to, have agentically to other services like Zapier, Notion, Figma, all of these. We can connect this Superbase. We have to like go connect our credentials, which I don't have, but you can connect to a simple database there and add authentication. And you can kind of connect to anything. Like if you're have some enough developer skills to understand how environment variables work and just install whatever package you need, which you can also ask the AI to do. Then you can use like any API you want pretty much, and you can ask the AI to build all the functionality for you.
It's pretty cool with like connecting Jira and Linear because you can just like pop in a ticket number and say like fix this and it'll have all the context from like pulling it from, you know, Jira, Linear. There's like a bunch of them.
Sorry, I was muted. Linear is great and Jira because you can actually just ask it to do a ticket. Like if the ticket is like a feature request, like building out a feature, it'll try attempt to build that feature just from saying build this ticket number, whatever ticket it is. As long as you have the MCP connected, it'll have access to that and attempt it, which is great.
It's pretty cool because it's like if you have a bunch of like feature requests and you just don't have enough dev bandwidth to work on that because there's always more important things to be working on, Fusion will do a really good job of like pulling that ticket down with the MCP server and like um, pretty much building it out.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations on PRG templates for us to build upon? So I'm not gonna lie, the one I just used, I like made in Claude or something like that, Claude or ChatGPT. Like I just sort of entered the basics of what I was trying to do and to ask to make a detailed plan. So I kind of like did plan mode twice in a way. But ours, when you use our plan mode, it's going to cater the plan to the AI you're feeding it to, of course, because it knows itself. So there's a little bit of AI inception, which I think is fine. A lot of times I'll just let something run and I notice it won't do what I want it to do. I'll try to prompt my way out of it to fix it. Anyone who's used these AI tools a lot has probably gotten to the point where you try something, you just can't get it to work, and you keep asking it, and you get frustrated, and you start not making sense because you ask the same thing twice, it's not going to do it. But once you change it and you figure out why it's not doing it, then you can get it to do it, right? So at that point, I will ask the AI, go back, look at my first prompts that what you weren't getting right, and then look at the prompt that I approved, and try to understand what the difference was between those prompts and why, or why the actions you took failed and why the actions that I approved worked, and crystallize that into a set of rules for me. I found this to be really effective. It like kind of writes your rules for you based on behavior you've seen from the AI. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool feature. Somebody said it's good to see plan mode. I'm gonna attempt the name. Ashatosh. Ashatosh. It's good to see plan mode as well. Figma Make was not having it. Yeah, and this is another big difference between Figma Make and Builder from what I've seen is that Figma Make, I think, tries to keep you more on Rails. It kind of has a lot of guardrails, which can be good if you're not really a developer and you're just trying to get something spun up and you don't, it's safe, right? But with Builder, we're able to do so much more powerful things because we kind of allow you to use any library that's in your code base. Like you just bring your code base in and now you have access to that library because that's what your code base has. You're directly affecting like the code And of course, it is safe because you're doing it on a draft PR. Like you're not submitting it to main, right? Your same like guards that are already in place with your Git process are still there, but you're able to we allow you to like use any library, whereas they have you have to like upload it to from what I understood, you have to upload it to a certain like repository and they have to like approve it. You know, I like ours. I'm a little biased, but yeah,
Just a
cool.
little bit.
Yeah. Didn't want to promote here anything. Somebody's promoting their YouTube channel. That's nice. Q&A. We what we need is demo apps with design systems for us to pick and choose. That's great. I love that. And we're going to be working on providing some more demo apps, but you can find a lot on GitHub from like right now. You can find demo apps like just a boilerplate app and then fork that and then pull that into Builder really easily. And that I think a lot of my customers, I'll have them create like a starter template that has their design system in it, and then they create new stuff from that. So that's like a really good point. Can we use custom design system as well? Yes. Veronica, you want to take one?
Will this create PRs and use a GitHub flow pattern in your source control with a dynamic URL for QA review? I
Yeah.
mean, pretty
So
much, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it
go ahead.
will. Oh, sorry. It will. I mean, it'll just do it the same way GitHub like does it currently. So if you have like a preview link set up for a branch, you'll be able to use that. Yeah. And there's a shareable link when the project's running.
Let's see. Is there a way to set rules at a project or app level so all users in the org will have those same AI rules? And yeah, you would just add it to like the agent MD, right? Or the builder rules.
So the question is like, so all projects can use it or like all like separate code bases? Sorry, where's the question?
Um, is there a way to set rules at a project or app level so all the users in the org will have the same AI rule sets?
Yeah, I think we had that at one point, but it can quickly become a problem when you have different like global rules for every project you have. So what we do have is things that can be accessed globally, like rules that can be accessed globally. They're not necessarily automatically applied, but we also have the design system can be shared across projects as well. The design system indexing that gives the AI the context it needs to create good code. Cool. We showed the credits used, covered that one. See a
Yep.
Figma MCP, we can migrate our existing Figma design to Builder. Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a plugin in Figma that's pretty great. Joe, could you link that in the chat, please? But it's basically um, it's a really sophisticated export that gets a lot of data that the Figma API can't get or it doesn't make available. And we take that and we put that into Builder and it has all like the components you used in Figma. It understands like how to map those components automatically to the components in your code base, which is pretty cool. If you're, if you're the kind of designer that uses Figma components, it's really powerful. And if not, it'll take your design and recreate it in your code. Um, is it bring your own API keys? Can we use Bedrock or AWS to tie in? Um, bring your own API. Is this anonymous attendee? Are you here? Is this question like API keys for your own LLM or for just APIs? For APIs, we definitely support like just bring whatever environment variables you would have in your project. So it works the same way it works in code. We currently just offer the models we offer, but we have the most popular ones and we keep updating them. We're always getting new ones.
I think we hit most of the questions. Are there any more in the chat?
Well, thank you everyone
No.
for joining us. I had a great time. Veronica,
Thank you, Andreas. I had a good time.
should we put the slide that shows how to sign up on the screen for a second? I'll do that.
Yes.
We'll leave that up for a moment. Take your time to screen cap that or scan it and come join us.
Yep.
All right, thank you everyone. There'll be a video soon that we'll share with you, and have a great day.